What is the strangest mystery that is still unsolved?
An unknown group of people broke into an FBI building, and no one has found out who they are. But the best part of the story is, they did it by leaving a sticky note that said, "Do not lock the door tonight," and it worked.
Imagine being the guy who left it unlocked.
That might be related to the Scientologist break-ins. When they were working on getting their tax-free status for their organization, they needed to get intel and leverage against the government. So they simply ordered a few members to walk right into the FBI headquarters as if they were agents. They took what they wanted, and then left. This is my favorite weird and barely known one. Back in 2013, an unknown group assaulted a power substation in California. By all appearances it was pretty sophisticated, scouted firing positions, all casings wiped of prints, they targeted transformers so they'd take time to overheat before triggering any alarms, also knew exactly when the police would arrive. No suspect or motive to this day. They also cut some fiber optic cables in a vault nearby. Conspiracy types think it was a dry run by Russia or possibly China to see how effective an attack like that might be.
What kind of transformers, Autobots or Decepticons?
Look up a term called red cells and how they operate with NSA and DoD to protect sensitive domestic sites like power plants, airports, various gov facilities. Not a conspiracy BTW, there's actually tons of info available if you look. Who is Perseus? From 1943 to 1946, the Soviet Union had a high-level spy in the Manhattan Project. Codenamed Perseus, this spy was a scientist at the White Sands missile testing site in NM, and the main research facilities in Los Alamos. Perseus saw pretty much the entire project start to finish, giving the Russians everything they needed to get to work on their own bomb. The fact that they were able to do so within 4 years of the end of World War II when their nations was still devastated is proof positive that Perseus helped a great deal. And to top it all off, Perseus was never caught or positively identified.
That we know of. I don't think the US government would be keen to share the name of the person that sold out all their advancements to Russia.
Probably Oppenheimer himself, because he realized that the type of absolute power nukes bestowed upon a person/country, it will corrupt them absolutely as well if there was no equal-footed adversary. What on earth happened to the Trump family? So it's this Australian family who owned a berry farm. Somehow Mr. and Mrs. Trump and their 3 grown kids developed the belief that they weren't safe, and they needed to flee their farm without cell phones or anything traceable, credit cards, etc. It sounds like the oldest son wasn't sold on whatever it was that led them to flee. He brought his phone, but eventually it got tossed from the car. He ended up bailing first and taking a train home. From there the rest of the family slowly separated and suffered various degrees of emotional breaks. The 2 girls stole a car. Somehow they got separated and one made it home, but the other was found on the floor in the backseat of some guy's car in a catatonic state. He spotted her after he started down the road. Eventually the parents were found wandering around aimlessly. Fortunately they were all okay physically, but WTF happened? Was someone actually after them? Were they delusional? As far as I know, the family hasn't released any updates. The whereabouts of the last Gestapo chief Heinrich Müller. The last verified sighting of him was in Berlin roughly 3 days before it fell. He had stated he knew full well what the Russians did to prisoners, and he had no intentions of being captured. As chief of the Gestapo, he more than likely had access to foreign documents as well as ways to replicate them. Both the CIA and the KGB spent time looking for him, but no trace has ever been found.
South America, probably. That was the Nazi failsafe. Disappear and blend into the country. They think they found a chain of forts in Venezuela used by Nazi officials.
Asha degree. Girl leaves her house in the middle of the night during a storm and disappeared. The only problem is that she was terrified of thunder and lightning and had no motive for leaving because her home life was fine. Then her clothes and backpack were found a year later in an abandoned construction site.
Is this the girl wearing all white that they think is buried in a parking lot?
The USS Cyclops. A coal ship. Disappeared with 306 men. The largest U.S. Navy loss of life that didn't involve combat.
Of the 4 built, 3 sank without a trace. Sounds like you could solve this mystery by making a model of the ship.
Nice try, Netflix. You have to find interesting unsolved mysteries yourself.
Nah man, we're an agency. I bet you can't guess which one. Also clear your search history.
The suicide of Ellen Greenberg. 27 stab wounds in different areas of the body.
Honestly, that's unreal. I'm glad the parents fought it. Looks like the case is going to trial next year. I hope the medical examiner doesn't die of suicide before he has to testify why he changed the cause of death at the insistence of the police department.
Suicide stabbings are so ridiculous. There's a case from Denmark in 2003 where a woman was found dead by her husband, who called the police and said she had killed herself. She was on the bedroom floor next to a broken lamp, her wristwatch was torn off and her panties pulled down, and she had 179 stab wounds. Because it was a Sunday, they had to call in a criminal assistant on his off day, and he deemed it a suicide, because she had a history of depression. Will the Delphi murders ever be solved? Who was the man on the bridge behind them?
Came here for this. It drives me, and I'm sure those involved with the case, insane that there's literally video and sound and we still can't find the guy.
Which of the 3 astronauts aboard Apollo 10 was responsible for the floating turd?
Who pooped the bunk?
What happened to Brian Schaffer? This happened in my hometown. This med student went to a bar with friends and then fully disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yes. How the hell did he make it out of that bar without being seen? And after losing his whole family under sad circumstances, I hope his brother gets the chance to learn what happened to Brian.
That one time when the PM of Australia went to the beach.
It even coined the term "do the Harold Holt" when you leave suddenly or without letting anyone know.
The Overtoun Bridge. It's a bridge in Scotland where dogs always unexplainably jump off. It's very strange and nobody knows for certain why they do this. Dogs who survived reportedly walked back up and jumped off again. They even had to put up a warning sign to keep your dog on a leash and to watch them. A lot of theories say maybe it's because of certain scents or animals down below, but most people have disagreed with this theory. It's fucking weird.
I remember that a new theory, which is supported by most experts, has something to do with the bridge's shape and resonant frequency creating sounds only audible to dogs. These sounds mess with the dog's perception and can drive them a bit mad.
As someone from Chicago who loves unresolved mysteries, I would say the Max Headroom broadcast signal intrusion, and I don't think we will ever find out who was behind it. It's been over 30 years and we still have no idea who was behind that incredibly bizarre hijack. There was a thread a while ago of someone that thought they had figured it out that seemed very possible, but it was updated and they were ruled out as suspects. Here is the infamous video for those that have never seen it.
Just posted this, but not as eloquently. I love these kinds of mysteries, harmless yet provocative, utterly pointless, truly anonymous, with some real skill and creativity.
That guy who ran away from the airport hopped the fence and was never seen again.
Just read the wiki article on him. My money would be firmly on him having copped a subdural hematoma in the assault. Shame his friends didn't stay. They'd, almost certainly, have picked that something wasn't right, taken him back to hospital, and he'd have got a CT and then probably surgery to relieve it. For those wondering how it ties together, subdurals are slow bleeds of veins inside your head, often from a traumatic injury, that can keep bleeding and slowly over days can build enough pressure to cause pretty nasty symptoms. And paranoia, hallucinations, personality changes are definitely some of them.